I personally used community care when I first started here about 2 years ago for treatment for my issue with my shoulder. I had one more appointment before I could see like the progress and get reevaluated, and then of course COVID hit.
Mm-hmm.
But no, thank you for taking the time to sit down and talk with us
Sure,
here.
sure.
So you've been in this role about as long as I've been at VA. Period. Can you give me a brief description of what the Office of Community Care is, or what community care is,
Yes.
and an overview of what your role is within it?
Yes, absolutely. So, the Office of Community Care is the office within the Veterans Health Administration that oversees and administers all of the care that we provide to veterans that takes place outside of VA facilities. So, hospitals, doctors' offices,
Mm-hmm.
nursing homes, etc. And so we have an authorization piece to authorize that care to go out. We pay the claims from those providers. We collect some revenues from other health insurance, and that's our role. Now, as a chief medical officer, my role has been those functions I described. A lot of those are pretty administrative,
Yeah.
but they certainly need some clinical insight when it comes to policy and procedure. And so that's what I've been doing in my role, is advising, particularly when we have sort of unusual benefits that can be not so clear cut.
Sure. Very good. Very good. Um, Now, before the VA, you were a doc in the Army for 12 years yourself, right? You were Army veteran?
Yes, I am. Yes, I trained in the military. I was a ROTC scholarship recipient, and also HPSP, which is for medical school. So
Okay.
I did my residency in the Army, and then an additional, that was 4 years, an additional 8 years serving from Korea to Germany to Texas to Louisiana. So kind of all over the place.
What years were you in?
I was on active duty from 94 to 2006.
Okay. Um, Real quick, give me either and I ask every guest this, that's a veteran. While you were in, give me either your best friend or your greatest mentor.
Oh, that is a good question. My greatest mentor would have been the chief of surgery down in El Paso, Texas, Dr. Stephen Hetz.
If you were to pick out one thing that he taught you, what would it have been?
He just taught about excellence and integrity, doing the right thing for the patient, and doing the best job that you could possibly do. I still am in touch with him to this day.
Why why leave the Army after 12 years? And what was your transition like?
Yeah, so a couple of things. One was, at that point, I had been doing a lot more administrative work, the chief of department, et cetera. I had been the sort of DCCS, which is kind of the chief medical officer, at one of my assignments. I
Mm.
wanted to learn more about administration, finance, et cetera. And so I was kind of on the verge of, and I ended up actually leaving to go get an MBA. So I was on the verge of that next step. And to
Yeah.
be honest, right at the time in 2006 that we were leaving, my husband and I was active duty as well. I think really the turning point was we had just had two kids a year apart, and the op tempo was super high. So he had been deployed 3 times,
Oh,
and
wow.
we just felt like it might not be, with small children. You start to have different factors that you consider. Nobody wants to leave their kids an orphan. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. No. Hats off to those that do it for the 20 years or for the 30 years and have families and are able to do that. But I personally left after a little over 11 years. So I think you just know when it's time to go, when it's time to, hey, this has been fun and time to move on to the next stage of your life.
Yeah, and I will say when I left, I went straight into an MBA program, which was just fantastic. I learned a lot. I met a lot of new people, and we moved to Chicago. So it was, a lot of exciting life changes, and we had two toddlers. So it was just, like you said, kind of the right time.
Very good. And how many years have you, Dr. Brill, how many years have you been with VA? I saw in your bio, you've had many positions, including chief of staff at Cincinnati's VA Medical Center, among a number of other positions.
Yeah, so it'll be 5 years this spring.
And you've had that many billets. And I look at your bio, you've had a lot of billets in 5 years.
I guess that's true. Yeah, that is true. I move quickly, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. Man, I think you have over 5 billets. So that's pretty amazing. Now for you, what does it mean for you as a veteran to be able to advise on policy and implement how veterans are getting treated by the department in a community care setting?
So it's really meaningful for me on so many levels. I think firstly, in VA healthcare, profit is not the first driver of
Yeah.
what goes on, right? It's taking care of veterans, which is more than just getting them to a doctor and getting them home. There's a lot more coordination. There's a lot more wraparound services. So it feels like the right kind of healthcare to be doing, and it feels like we're doing it for the right reasons. What I particularly love about doing community care is I did spend some years in the private sector, working as a VP of surgical services and a chief operating officer. So I really understand how the private sector works. And so it's kind of exciting for me to have this interface with the private sector in my VA role, because I think I really have an understanding of that side, and I can, sort of be a good translator, if you will.
Sure. 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 It seems like there's a number of services within the Office of Community Care, and each one I think could be probably be its own benefits breakdown. And maybe we can do that later on as we progress through the podcast. I'm just going to run through them real quick.
Hmm.
General community, from what I saw on the website, general community care, urgent care, emergency care, which we kind of covered in one of our COVID bonus episodes with Dr. Kessler, foreign medical care, home health and hospice care, Indian or Native American health services, in vitro fertilization, state veteran homes, and flu shots. Now, we're talking about care within your local community healthcare systems for all of these. And I'm sure eligibility for each differs a bit based on the service and the need. But what are the general eligibility guidelines for community care?
So some of those programs are fairly limited to certain populations, but I think the biggest
Sure.
program is just the general community care. And so there are certain criteria for that, which of course vary depending on where you live. But essentially, if you are in a state with no full service VA, if you need a service that the VA near you doesn't have, for instance, something like maternity care or neurosurgery, uh, those are not necessarily available at every VA.
Okay.
Uh, if you've been grandfathered in through something from the Previous Choice Act, and then the access standards, which have to do with how soon you can get an appointment or how far away from that facility you live. So, for instance, if you wanted to get primary care at the VA, but you lived an hour away, that's past the driving distance that we expect people to make. So if you can't get to the VA within 30 minutes, then we would give eligibility to be seen in the community. Now, that being said, people do choose to just come to VA and they do the extra drive, but they
Sure.
don't have to. And then the access standards around wait time is, let's say you need an orthopedic surgeon, maybe you could relate to that with the shoulder. And
Yeah, absolutely.
right. And then they tell you that the next visit's 40 days, right? That's too long. So anything over 28 days for specialty care would give you eligibility to go to the community. And then again, you could choose, because in some communities, maybe you could get in 14 days. In some communities, it might be a longer wait to go to an outside orthopedic surgeon. But the veteran is then put in a position to have choice. And that's the key to the legislation.
And I think that's the best part about this. So it's not mileage. I think the old system used to be mileage, right? So now it's
Correct.
by.
Drive time.
So if you can live 10 miles away, but if you're in DC,
Right.
pre-COVID, that might be an hour,
That's
you know.
exactly right. That's exactly. I've lived in New York City and Chicago. Like, you can't get anywhere fast.
Very good. Very good. Yeah. So, and I got some friends that live in West Virginia and some very rural parts, Montana, Idaho. So this is actually, really, really good news for a lot of them. Now that's for veterans, but let's flip this. What if I'm a community care provider? What if I'm one of the providers out in town, a physician out in town, got a private
Yep.
practice, doctor? How can I get into serving veterans by seeing veterans through community care?
We work through a third party administrator. And so for what we call regions 1, 2, and 3, which is the Midwest and the South and East Coast,
Uh huh.
that is all through Optum. And so a provider could actually just go to the Optum website and then look for their link for VA. And there's documents on there to apply to become a provider for VA. There's a credentialing process. Now, on the West Coast in Texas and Alaska, the third party administrator is TriWest. And
Okay.
so a provider would just do the same thing, go to the TriWest website and apply to become a what we call CCN or Community Care Network provider that way.
Gotcha. So if I got a doc out in town and I had a private health insurance, so I'm like, hey doc, I really like you, but I'm losing. I just lost my job, or I just
Mm-hmm.
lost my health insurance. Hey, please go to this website, or please, and they can help them. They can actually apply themselves. The doc can actually apply themselves to actually still serve that veteran, right?
Absolutely, yes.
That's really cool. That's really
Yep.
cool. Okay, I'm a veteran. I just found out about this program. And I'm like, okay, I'm in West Virginia, and yeah, I'm 45 minutes away, my shoulder physical therapy is, 3 weeks from now. How do I get started? What's the application process like? How do you do it? Where do you go?
So, when a veteran is interested in potentially getting care in the community, the first step is that they need to see someone at the VA, their physician, because they need a authorization in order to be seen in the community. Their eligibility needs to be checked, and then they can get
Okay.
an authorization to be seen in the community. And it may be for just a specific type of care, or it may be for all care, and that depends. There was one other thing I didn't mention previously is there is something called best medical interest, which applies to when the doctor decides that it's best for you to be seen in the community, even if you don't meet any other eligibility standards. So a good
Okay.
example might be,
Interesting.
let's say you live 20 minutes away, which is pretty close, but you just had some kind of surgery done and you need to get physical therapy, and there's a physical therapy place right across the street from your house. The doctor could say, well, since you're going to physical therapy very frequently, we can just authorize for you to get the care across the street instead of having to come to the VA to get it done, something like that.
Great. Great. I didn't know that. That's great.
Yeah. So then the doctor will give you an authorization for either all care or some care. And then, so in order to make an appointment, there's lots of different ways to do that. Veterans can make their own appointments, or the office at the VA medical facility can make the appointment for you. And in some cases, Optum or TriWest can make them appointment. And if they want to kind of shop around and see which doctor they want, they can go to the website va.gov, and then there's a provider locator on there, and they can, take a little time at home and take a look at those providers, and then uh, you know, let the appointing scheduler know where they'd like to go.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm going to get to that real quick because I had a personal experience with that. Real quick about the application process, and you talked about that initial meeting. Can that initial meeting be telehealth? Can you do that virtually?
So, in this day and age, we have converted so many appointments to telehealth that is probably possible. Yes.
Okay. Very good. Very good. Hey, I got to tell you, before this interview, I found the facility locator on va.gov. I typed in I just typed in facility locator on the search bar, and it was one of the links. I typed in my zip code. I looked for community providers in network by just throwing in my zip code, and boom, 3 docs close to me that were really close to me could see VA community care patients. For those that aren't online or are older, like my grandma, like we talked
Right.
about,
Hmm.
and she refuses to have internet in her house. Um, how can they find these same docs?
so that's that's just a tool that's essentially provided for patients' convenience,
Yeah,
but they can
it's great. It's a great tool. Don't get me wrong.
yeah, but you're absolutely right. Different people have different ways that they like to get information. So
Absolutely.
someone could actually physically go to the VA and talk to one of the schedulers. Some people really like that
Okay.
face to face contact.
Yeah.
They could also call the clinic. Let's say they were seen in primary care clinic. They didn't feel like talking to the scheduler at that time, and they wanted to go home and maybe look at their calendar or what have you. They could call back and talk to a scheduler on the phone. So and the scheduler has a way to pull up all of these providers, even a bigger list than you would see on va.gov, and
Okay.
talk with the patient about what they might be looking for in terms of specialty and location. And I will say that there is another factor that they can look at on the system that the schedulers see, is whether that provider has taken special training to work with veterans, such as a military competency training, special training on traumatic brain injury or PTSD or military
Mm.
sexual trauma. So they can look in their system to see what providers out in the community may have extra training around caring for veterans.
Can you mix and match? Can you have like a general provider close to you, and then for specialty care, maybe there's an orthopedic doctor at the VA you actually like, or can you flip that? Can you kind of work that to where it benefits the veteran based on the
Yes.
care that's needed?
Yes, absolutely. It's really so the veteran can always choose to take whatever care they want inside of the VA.
Yeah.
And then, as far as the community, it's they based on those eligibility criteria, and then the veteran can kind of decide what works best for them. To your point, there might be a primary care doc that's just 3 blocks down the street, and they want to see that person, but they really would prefer to go to the cardiologist at the VA because they have they trust them, they have long experience with them, et cetera. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, absolutely.
Very good. Very good. Very cool. Dr. Brill, we've covered a lot of ground in a short amount of time. Is there anything that I have missed about the overarching subject that is Office of Community Care? Or is there something that I haven't asked that you think would be important to share with anybody that's listening?
Well, I think that just the overall thing that I would like to share is that we view community care as a partnership with internal VA care, and it should all be a seamless experience, ideally for the veteran, so that the veteran can kind of toggle back and forth depending on their needs. And of course, their eligibility between the community and the VA. It's all about veteran choice. And so, if someone has the eligibility, we work with them. There's something called a referral coordination initiative, and that's really sort of personalized service to talk through with a veteran the pros and cons about being seen in the community versus the VA. So I guess what I'd like veterans to know is they're not totally on their own making these decisions. There's folks at the VA that can help them decide where they should go and how they should think about it.
We gotta get 'em one way or the other. Machine gunner, fight bullets fly, day and night rain. Simplify till we die, another campaign. My desk is a rock where the drug lords cut up millions. My pen is a 7.62 round that'll cut 'em down in an instant. Point, click, pull the trigger to the tune of falling brass. Full benefits and a purple heart and a Russian-made bullet in my back. Raining down lead, punching that clock. Get 'em boys, I'm laying down cover. Machine gunner, fight bullets fly, day and night rain. Simplify, do or die, another campaign. Here we go, lock and load, 0331. Lug 1,000 rounds, and I ain't bringing back one.